they were opening me up laparoscopically to do the hysterectomy. And when I woke up, I expected to feel, some discomfort from the surgery or whatever. But instead, I woke up to my doctor saying, "Erica, we didn't do the surgery." And I was like, "Why?" And she looked at me, and the way she looked at me, and then she said, "We think you have cancer." My name is Erica, and I was diagnosed with appendiceal cancer, stage 4. I'm currently residing in Virginia, and I have been here since 2020 and was diagnosed in 21. I would describe this as the fight of my life. I would describe this as a test of my faith. I would also describe this as the blessing and beauty that is cancer, if I can say that. When I got here in 2020, I came here at the height of COVID. I wanted to be near family in the event that anything happened and we needed each other. And so when I came down, I had a lot of anxiety. I was a new single mom. My children at the time, when I came down here, my daughter was 20, almost 21, and my son was 16. And I was now a single mom, and I needed to hit the ground running. So I had a lot of extra energy, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? So I started this love affair with workouts. I just poured all my emotions into these weights, and I ran, and I would get up at 4:30 every morning before work to engage in this me versus me battle. So there, for me, I didn't have any symptoms that I could recognize because appendiceal cancer is not very popular. It's kind of a rare kind of cancer. Then at the same time, also I was working out. So any fatigue that I felt, I attributed to that. I started a job that I actually really loved. I worked at a lab. It was a lot of fun. The people were just a lot of fun. I put in for a position to work with the lead scientist of the company, to be an EA for him, an executive assistant. So I got hired, which was wonderful. So I went from a receptionist to an EA in under a year. And I was excited about this job. It was mainly just 2 EAs, me and another girl who was training me, and 4 scientists. And so what was happening was my cycle was taking me out of the office at least 2 days every month. And I thought to myself, I'm not having any kids anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. That part of my life is over, right? So I was like, maybe I'll just get a hysterectomy so I can focus on my job because I really enjoyed it. Me and the other assistant, EA, were going back and forth as to who was going to go first to have their hysterectomy surgery because she was going through the same thing. So we were like, no, you go first. No, you go first, right? So I always had this nagging feeling that something was up, but I didn't have any symptoms that I could directly recognize. I think at some point, I had a sharp pain in my side that was different because I normally don't get that. I don't get headaches. I don't get those kind of things. It was a Saturday night, and I was sitting talking to a friend, and I had one drink and threw up. And I thought to myself, that's odd. One drink. I mean, I'm a lightweight, but that is you know what I mean? But I didn't think much of that. And then I went out to dinner with a friend, and I was full. So I was full instantly. I maybe took a couple bites, and then I was kind of forcing it down. And that was unusual because, like I said, I've been working out and working out heavy. So my appetite was, through the roof. So finally, between the 2 of us EAs, I decided to go first. everything was set up. I was going into surgery. I was on the table, I was being wheeled in and everything. And right before they said, like, you're doing the countdown, right? Before you're like gone, right? And just before I was gone, I felt like they're going to find what's wrong. It's like just a small inner voice that said they're going to find what's wrong. This inner voice is extremely important to, according to my story. My, I'm just gonna hold it until we get there. But um, they were opening me up laparoscopically to do the hysterectomy. And when I woke up, I expected to feel, some discomfort from the surgery or whatever. But instead, I woke up to my doctor saying, "Erica, we didn't do the surgery." And I was like, "Why?" And she looked at me, and the way she looked at me, and then she said, "We think you have cancer." And I'm talking about, I just woke up from anesthesia, and the room became thunderously quiet. Um, I had a friend there who was to support me while I went through the surgery, and um, the way he looked at me at the time, I had so many thoughts that were just racing through my head at the time. Um, it was surreal. It was, I just didn't believe what was happening. But that's how I found out. I didn't have anything that let me know. It was like intuition was saying it's time to get this, time to go. It's time to handle this. The doctor there talked to me about what they found, and it was quite a bit of cancer in my belly. Like, my belly was full of cancer at the time, and they thought it was, there was a question as to where the cancer was originating from. So that took about 2 weeks while I knew that I had cancer, but didn't know what it exactly was. So they thought it was uterine cancer. They thought it was, coming from my colon. They thought there was a few different places that, because there was so much cancer and had touched so many different organs, that they didn't know exactly where. So it took about 2 weeks. The pathologist finally made the, discovery that it was appendiceal, and I was stage 4B. So literally, while I was being superwoman, working out, going to work, I was loving life. It was just, I looked like the epitome of health. Drinking like a gallon of water on the weekends, some protein powder, of the whole nine. And literally, I'm dying and didn't know it. The doctor was like, "Yeah, you would have." The doctor told me that you would have passed away and not known, why you would have become, um, you know, inoperable, I guess, had had I waited, and my other EA gone first. I don't know that I'd be sitting here talking to you right now. I am a vet. Did 8 years in the Navy. So I went to, the VA hospital. That was my first step. And they had a fantastic team of doctors that they had to find for me. Because my case was so rare, there was no one already at the hospital who had who had done what I needed done. So they did something like, put a call out to community, and this doctor named Dr. Hernandez, I will never forget his face. I will never forget this man. Um, and Dr. Hernandez and another doctor, they came together, formed a team to perform what was called the HIPAC, and organ wash, and the whole thing. So I didn't really have to find a team myself. I just went to the VA and they found the team, and they walked me through the process, and they really helped and gave me what I needed. And I'm still there. I'm still there right now. It was horrible feeling. I remember the first couple, um, after the surgery, I came out with an ileostomy bag. and getting the chemo. So I had to learn how to change and put on this bag, and that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing there. But the chemo, I was on it for 3 days at a time. So I would go in and I would get treatment for about 4 or 5 hours. Then they would hook me up to a pump, and then I would take that pump home for another 2 days. I was functionable. The first treatment, I was like, this is going to be a breeze. I can handle this. Treatment one. I was like, not too bad. And then on after about the fourth or fifth round, the when you get unhooked, it's like when the sickness, it's like standing wait for you standing right next to you waiting for you to get unhooked so it can like sit on your chest and sit in your lap. I would sleep for 2 and 3 days to try and sleep through the sickness, the nausea, the fatigue that is unlike any fatigue I have ever experienced. It's not like fatigue when you go for a run or go work out. It's a fatigue that it's I don't even know how to describe it. It's a fatigue that's like uh I don't even know how to describe it. You know what I'm saying? It's a different type of fatigue, and it hits you quickly. You think you're up, you're gonna do something, you feel good. You're like, okay, well maybe today I'll go and clean the kitchen. You get halfway through the fatigue hits you like a wall, and you literally have to go lay down. This is complete opposite of the life I was just living. Complete opposite. I made it through the surgery, the ileostomy bag, and all 12 rounds of chemo, even down to having my port removed. And I went to work. I the job that I was working at, I had to let go because I had been on medical leave for so long that there was no returning back to that job. So I went out and found another job. And I worked at a place where I believe it's called CHKD, where they use secondhand things to help raise money to support the. So I came in as an assistant manager, ready to go, ready to rock, feeling good. 2 days before my start date, I got the call that I was no longer in remission. So 2 days before I start the job, I now know that I'm not going to be here very long. And I'm just waiting for them to pull together treatment and figure out what we're going to do. And the funny part about it is that because I don't look like, I guess, a typical, and if I dare say typical, there's nothing typical anymore, what a cancer patient looks like, they didn't believe me. They didn't believe me. And I had to prove what I was going through. And so I eventually left that and then had this another surgery, a second HIPEC surgery, but this time with no chemo. That time got back on my feet and was going back out to work again. I got hired at an awesome place called the Richmond University of Richmond. Fantastic, loved it. And in an admin position again. And about, I don't know, I had been at the job maybe between 8 and 10 months. And I started feeling, but I'm still the workout girl, right? I'm still running. I'm still trying to, you know what I mean? Keep things together. It is how I deal with the stress and the pressure, and do the workout thing. So, I show up once again looking like the epitome of health. You know? And soon, and about 10 months in, I start to feel like this like gurgling in my stomach. And my stomach is starting to swell a bit. Starting to experience a bit more bloating, and then especially after I eat certain things. And so once again, the intuition was like, you need to call, but I didn't want to call. And so I procrastinated probably about a week, till I felt like I just couldn't take it anymore. And then I called my nurse, and described her my symptoms that I was having. And she was like, Erica, you need to come into the ER right now. And I was like, and still in denial, I was like, but I'm at work. Can I come after work? But I'm at lunchtime. Hey, how about I just swing through after work? And, because I just was so convinced that this was nothing, no big deal. She said, hold on, let me go talk to another nurse and I'll get back to you and let you know if you can put off or not. She calls back in probably about 10 minutes and she's like, no, you need to go to the emergency room now. And I was like, ugh. So I had my boss knew my story, but as far as we both were concerned, that was behind me now, and I am moving forward. Um, so I have to make the announcement that I have to leave work and go to the emergency room. And so I show up at the emergency room. I'm in my work, clothes, and I got my bags and my trench coat and all this. And I explain what's happening. I give a bit of my history, and they kind of like whisk me off a little too quickly, like faster than I was comfortable with, you know. I'm sitting there after they do the test, they do some scans, and the doctor comes back and says, you have a CDs. And I'm like, what is a CDs? So right there, while he's talking to me, I'm looking it up on my phone. Like, what is this? Well, there's only two options with a CDs. Either I was a raging alcoholic or I had cancer. And I was like, don't drink. Don't drink. So, and that was, I think at that point, a bit of my spirit was broken because now we're the third time I'm fighting to maintain a normal life. I'm really still in denial about a lot what's happening because, I'm wearing my skinny jeans and my t-shirts and, and I'm going on with life because I'm still like, it's not happening like that. To be honest with you, while cancer has, because of cancer, I have said yes to things I wouldn't have normally said yes to, right? Um, so there's a beauty in that, like this, for example. For example, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say yes. And so the cancer is kind of giving me a little courage while at the same time, um, I feel robbed. I feel robbed of my spirit and, I feel this is still surreal to me because of the type of cancer that's really aggressive. And my only way of treatment is the type of chemo that I'm getting. Um, and because the cancer is kind of on the rare side, there isn't a lot of research out there to help me. So my headspace really honestly is I'm kind of preparing myself as best I can and my children as best I can for the possibility that I may not be here. So I think excuse me for a second, having to come to grips and terms and face the fact that my time may be limited here. And then on top of that, let's just say I win and I survive. I worried about my quality of life because chemo kills everything, not just the cancer cells. And I constantly have to rebuild myself. At the beginning of this fight, I was like, I got this licked. I had all the faith and strength and courage in the world. As it keeps coming back, I have to say that my strength is waning a little bit mentally. And mentally, I have my good and bad days. There are days when I am on cloud nine, and then there are days when I am like, I have to make these hard decisions, and talk to the people, my support team, about what to do if I can't speak for myself, and what to do, where my children, and what to do with my things. And not to be morbid, but I'm just trying to face the reality of it. My grandmother was on dialysis, and we kind of built this bond because she felt like, that I was showing people how to live with a major illness. And then when she didn't want to go get dialysis, she would just think, well, if Erica can do it, then I can do it. And so we kind of like gravitated to each other, and encouraged each other through treatments and such. And she finally came to the realization that she no longer wanted to do treatment anymore. And we all knew what that meant, you know what I mean? And I believe she, obviously she knew what that meant, that she was just tired and ready to go, I guess. And so there was this, so I looked at this as an opportunity for me to calm my heart, to see, what does passing look like? What is the atmosphere? What's happening? And so I took that opportunity to go and be with her, um, while she was going through that transition. And when I tell you, it brought me so much peace and brought me so much joy. I was also reading a book at the same time, What the Dying Has to Teach the Living. And I read that book just before I was going to see her, so that I could understand the stages she was going through. And when I had my opportunity to talk to her for one last time, I told her I couldn't cry for her because I was so excited and happy for her and her transition, and what she was going to now see and hear and being able to do and to accomplish, and whatever is out there that is waiting for her, that she is knocking at the door of this next transition in life. We were all with her. We all are, the whole family was there. We were all together. It was a beautiful passing. It was sad, but it was beautiful. You have choices. No matter what, you have choices. Even when it seems like you don't have choices, you have choices. Because I understand that some of the warriors that I now join don't have as many choices. Your choices sometimes become limited, whether it's the medication you take to help you live day to day, or whatever financial situations, or whatever is going on, and it seems like you don't have a choice. You still have a choice. You have a choice to change your perspective. And I feel like for me, a perspective change was the catalyst for joy and for hope. This is my perspective. I'm just like, okay, if my situation isn't changing right now, what I can do is change my mind about it all, and just change my mind about it all. And I encourage anyone to do everything and anything that you ever dreamed of doing. If you don't, just walk towards it. Start walking towards it, and I can bet that it'll start walking towards you. Doors will start to open and opportunities will start to come. It's okay to take a rest. Warriors, when you're constantly fighting, it's okay to take a rest, but don't give up, because your emotions will lie to you. Your emotions will lie and tell you that there's nothing else. Your emotions will have you making a permanent decision on a temporary feeling. I encourage anyone to, one, get to know yourself dive deep in yourself and ask yourself why a lot, until you get to an answer that satisfies you. Embrace those around you. Say what you want to say and do what you want to do, you know what I mean? Like, go for it. Try your best, do your best at it. And say yes to things you wouldn't normally say yes to.